is a shofar. It's made from an African kudu horn. I made this one. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how I did it. And hopefully we'll be able to take this kudu horn, this is a raw kudu horn, and show you how to go about making yourself a shofar. What we're going to do is we're going to go through a process, a series of steps. I'll do a lot of work in between, but we'll clip through the different major pieces parts. The first part is to put the mouthpiece in the horn. If your horn comes with cartilage inside, what you would need to do is tap it. If you tap it on, it'll break that up, and then you'll be able to pull it out. Although everything that I've been able to find in terms of horns online come with the cartilage already removed. This horn came from a company in Jacksonville, Florida, Atlantic Coast Enterprises or something like that. You can hunt them up on eBay. I think I paid about $50 for this horn. And this is a 42.9 inch horn. It's roughly 43 inches. Typically it's measured from tip to tip along the outside of the spiral. So it's not 42 inches, by the shortest distance. It's 42 inches around the spiral. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find where the end of the empty space is and where the inner part of the horn begins, because we want to cut off somewhere right behind that. The way to do that is to take a coat hanger, and what we're going to do is we're going to just straighten this out so that we can reach down inside of it. I may have used a softer piece of wire the last time, but let's see if we can, if this is not too stiff, if we can reach all the way in here and get an idea of where. I might need more than one hand to do this. It'll give us an idea of where, which is kind of about where I suspected. We're looking at needing to cut this off at a spot somewhere about right here. And that should still leave us with some bone inside to make the mouthpiece. All right. So let's go do that now. There's the end. Here's what we're looking at. Okay, what I have here, I have a hand drill with a 5/32 bit in the end of it. I have something to hold and an assistant to hold. Hold the horn in place while we drill a hole. We want to put a hole in the center going right down in. I want to be careful as I drill not to let the bit grab and pull, because it's a fairly soft material in the middle, and I don't want the bit to grab and pull, because if it does, it has the potential of splitting or biting too fast and messing up. So I'm gonna pad it, and I'm gonna put it in the vise right here to help hold this end. I'm gonna be careful not to tighten down too much, and we'll see what we do. All right.
Just move it a little bit.
There we go. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Okay, I want to check with the wire and make sure that it went all the way through. This wire might be too long. I'm just going to check, make sure.
You need a skinnier one?
Nope, we're all the way through. That's tight. We might want to run the bit a little farther down in there just to make sure. All right. There, that's very nice. Now, the next step is going to be to open up the mouthpiece. Okay, now this is an 11/64 bit, and what we're going to do is we're going to open up the bell of the mouthpiece. The goal is to only go down maybe 3/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, or a little bit more than that. What we want to do is just open up the bell of the mouthpiece. And again, this bit has the potential to grab as well, so we want to be very careful. Let's see if this will play. Now, until we sand the edges of this and round it up, it's going to be a little painful on the lips, but the next thing I want to do is I want to show you some imperfections in this horn so that you don't panic when you get something from the taxidermist shop. If you'll come in here close and look, you'll see this one has a big ding right in here. Not really a big deal, we can work around that. These ridges aren't a major issue, we can work around those. If you look, I don't know if you can see down inside the horn, but you can see that it's fairly smooth down inside the horn. Now they wrote the length right here inside, but it's fairly smooth down inside the length of the horn, even where these ridges are, except for right here, this portion right here. So we want to be careful not to cut too deep on the outside right here, because we want to conserve as much of the horn as we can. So what we're going to do is we'll clean up around this and do the best that we can to conserve or preserve as much of the horn as we can, because we paid a little extra to have have something longer than 40 inches. Okay. I'm going to use an angle grinder for my basic cutting, for the basic grinding and opening this thing up, or starting the sanding process, and then we'll move through different some other tools and things that I have. But I've got a flapper disc on this. It's just your basic angle grinder. You could do it long and slow by hand with really rough sandpaper. This is just going to speed up the process. Personally, I really like to keep and highlight that ridge. You can take a good bit off of it without actually cutting into the horn. But for me, I like to highlight that ridge. I think it's a beautiful part of the horn, and so we're going to work to shape that and to sand all the way around it and keep a nice smooth ridge all the way around. Something else that I should tell you is that as you're working on the horn, now you can look inside and see where it's smooth, and up close to the end here typically is where the ridges start getting a little rough, and so you may not want to cut all the way through them. But the other thing that you can do to tell how much you still can remove from the horn, you can look at it with the light shining on the horn up here, with the sun shining on the horn. You can see up inside, and you can tell how thin the horn is at places. You can also see some of that coloration that's going to start showing up, some of that fire. I love the reds when I can save that, and you can see a little bit of it right here. It's a little bit pinkish, but until it gets sanded smooth and gets rubbed with olive oil or wax, some preservative, you can't see it very well here. But if you look at it this way, see in the light, I can see there's a lot of that here, and I want to be careful not to cut all of that out, because it will leave a beautiful horn, or it'll leave beautiful coloration on the horn. In case you're wondering, this flapper disc is a 60 grit flap. A lot of the ones I use are 80. Slow down the process just a little bit. You'll notice I keep it moving. I don't want to burn or heat up the horn as I'm moving. I'm going to keep that moving. And we're just about to the point where we're not going to use the flapper disc anymore. There are a couple more things I want to work on These are fairly deep ridges right here, and I'm a little concerned with cutting too deeply. Now we can see that there's a little bit of the white starting to show up, and we know that we can get through a good bit of the dark part of the horn. So I can probably still take some of this out, but I'm probably going to leave a little bit of that accent in there on this particular spot. You saw where we started with that big problem on it. I still need to sand a little bit more to remove this and smooth that. And I'm going to run the flapper disc down through here to try to finish cleaning up the inside of that just a little bit. And then we're going to move to some other light equipment that's probably in most shops. A little spindle sander, a little belt sander. And worst case, you can go from this point straight to hand sanding and just start working with bless you. Just start working with 80 and then 120 grit, working your way all the way up to 2500 grit paper. This is not a required tool. Nice easy one. Many shops have it. Just a little tiny spindle sander. We'll also go to a belt sander that's got a belt that I can lift up. We'll pull that out in a few minutes. But this little spindle sander right here will help us get to a lot of places. 80 grit, and it'll help us start smoothing out some of the roughness that's left by the flapper disc, and help us start smoothing lines and working on the curves and everything. It's also nice and quiet. We can talk.